Good afternoon, everyone. Ranger M here. Just gonna show you guys how to make a composter, but we'll wait for a few minutes before I start. Happy Earth Day, everyone. In case you didn't know, it's the 50th anniversary of celebrating Earth Day. So it's a pretty big year, even though this year's Earth Day might look a little different. It's still nice to get outside and experience nature. Show your appreciation to the planet or the environment some way. Today, me and my mom went for a hike and we picked up some litter along the way. And that was how we gave back. Just to give you a little background about composting, there's quite a few misconceptions about composting, like why we should compost when the organics are going to go into the landfills anyways. But in the landfills, it's not a very oxygen-rich environment, so your compost can't break down like it can in a composter, as a composter allows it to have more oxygen and it can aerate a bit better, and you're also doing that when you mix it. So at my house, this is my composter right here. Actually, I can turn this around. So we have it in a nice shaded area, pretty dry. We have a block of thing of wood underneath it to make sure it's even more dry. And it's quite a big one. Okay, so we compost to make sure that our fruits and veggies, organics, wastes breaks down here, and we get the soil and we can use the soil, and therefore we're saving money because we don't have to buy artificial fertilizer or soil. Not artificial soil, but more soil. And then we're decreasing our carbon footprint because we're not transporting that waste to a landfill. And then we're also decreasing our methane footprint, which is an even worse greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. I think it's 26 times more potent than carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere. And that's the gas that's released when our organic waste breaks down in a landfill. So someone just asked what's the best spot to put a composter, and I will get to that, but I will mention it now. The best spot is in a shaded area that doesn't get a lot of water, like wet, and you don't want it in full sunlight because it'll dry out. Okay, so I'm gonna get started. My mom's gonna be the cameraman here. Okay. So the first step is just getting a bin. So you can reuse a bin that you're not using anymore. Any Rubbermaid tote, I think you can get some for less than $10. I'm reusing this one, so it cost me nothing. The first step is wanting to drill a couple holes in the bottom. The holes just allow for aeration, so getting the air through your organics. I put 8 in. They don't have to be too big or anything. It's pretty dirty, so I don't know if you can see it. And the next step is you want to make your base. Closer. So your base can be a green organic, so something like leaves, or your like lawn waste. But I wanted to use shredded paper, had quite a bit. A lot of companies shred paper. If you shred paper at home too, this is a really good base and a good way to get rid of your shredded paper besides recycling it. Newspaper is also another good one, not just regular paper. Okay, so that's your base, which again can be leaves as well. And then you're going to fill it up, not fill it up, but get a good about 1/3 of dirt in your bucket. So you do need dirt to start your composter, but then once your composter gets going on its own, as you keep adding organics to it over months' time, as long as you keep about 1/3 of the soil in your composter at any given time, it'll keep the process going. So it's just kind of a starter. You need the dirt. Okay. All right, and then you throw in your organics. So just to let you know, you can put your coffee filters in a composter. It does break down along with tea bags. And then some people do put Kleenexes and stuff like that in your composter. And some cities do collect organics like that. But for my composter, I won't put those in there because I just don't want that in there. Also, you don't want to put any animal byproducts in it, like bones or dairy. Then we will stir it up. You can actually put your coffee grinds right in your garden. They're pretty good.
Question, I heard adding worms can help. Is that true?
Yes, adding worms can help. You want to make sure they're not earthworms. Earthworms are invasive. I mean, technically they're everywhere now, but you just make sure that. But there are special like composter worms you can get. I'm not sure where you can get them, but I know I did a project about it in high school, but you can get worms to help it out. But you also don't need them. It will do it all on its own.
And also, what about Enviro coffee pods?
Enviro coffee pods. I'm not sure. I don't have them. I'm assuming if they're similar to a filter, like a coffee filter, they should be able to break down.
You can try them.
But you might need to read the ingredients. Your next step for the composter is to moisten it. You don't want it soaking, but just to moisten. I know I used that word twice, but and then your last step is just drilling holes on the top so the whole thing can aerate. And there you have it. That is how you make a composter. Thank you for your assistance, Mom. So that's all it takes, basically, and it'll take about 2 to 3 months for your composter to really start making that dirt on its own. And you don't even need a house or your own property to make a composter. If you're in an apartment, you can still just use your balcony to keep your compost outside, and that dirt can still be used in your houseplants, like for the dirt for your houseplants. So yeah, anyone really can take value from a composter. So I will look into Enviro coffee pods, but I'm not quite sure about that story. If there's any other questions, I'll try and spot them. But for anyone who wasn't here at the beginning, the major reason, which is really good for Composting is, and a lot of people get confused as to why we don't just throw it in the landfill, is because it doesn't break down in a landfill. So we just pile all this stuff in the landfill, and when it all compacts, the organics don't get the oxygen it needs to break it down, and methane's released, the gas methane, which is 26 times more potent in the atmosphere than carbon dioxide. So by making a composter and by occasionally mixing up the composter, we can add oxygen to the composter, which will then break down the organics. Raccoon and skunk friendly. Mom, have we ever had an issue with raccoons and skunks? No, we have never. So I would think that they're fine. I don't know why they wouldn't go for it, but maybe it's just because it smells a bit different than garbage. But as long as you have a good enough tub too that will lock shut, not lock shut, but keep shut, I wouldn't think, definitely not skunks, but not raccoons could get into it. That was a good question. If you keep adding to it, do you have to reset the 2-3 month time period for it to break down? No, so as long as you keep about 1/3 of dirt in it, even with some stuff breaking down, it will keep the process going. So you don't want to just empty it right away. You want to keep at least 1/3 of stuff in it, and that way it will keep breaking down for you. Another really good idea for composting is to save money. You can use this compost dirt, which is really nutritious for your soil, for your grass, for your plants. Then you don't have to buy fertilizer. Fertilizer also has chemicals in it, and it doesn't stick around like compost dirt does. Compost dirt helps with kind of like water erosion, so if it rains a lot, artificial fertilizer will run off, whereas our compost dirt will stick around. So you're not wasting money on artificial fertilizer that doesn't really stay in our gardens as much as the compost, which is really nice. Compost is also very nutritious for your grass, so you can scatter around your grass if you wanted to. And it's also pretty good for cutting down our carbon footprint, because we're not paying for transportation to take it to a landfill or anything like that. So if there's any other questions, there's some really good ones. I did mention the worms can help, but once again, like, you can do it without the worms. So I would think if you wanted to make a bigger composter, like bigger than the one we have made, because you can, if you're feeling ambitious enough and if you have the property and the organics to do it, you can construct kind of like a really big one, like even bigger than my house one. I would say probably you would want some worms to help break it down there. But that could be something like maybe like a garden center or something would look into for that kind of green waste. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in. If anyone does make this composter, I'd love to see pictures of it and get people's feedback. I'm going to take this one to the Catfish Creek office with me. We actually don't have a composter, so this will be our new composter. And yeah, it cost me no money at all because I'm reusing this tote. So, but at most I think you can get a tote less than $10, so it is very financially friendly. Okay, so thanks again. Oh, how often do you have to turn it? If you're getting a pretty big layer of organics on top, that's when I would just turn it. So you just use a shovel or a stick or whatever, and you just kind of mix it in. And so it's kind of on your judgment call. Our big one here, we don't actually ever really, well, we do mix it, but we take the dirt out of the bottom here. So we haven't mixed it over the winter. So normally when it dries up, we would mix it and take the dirt out of it that's at the bottom. So as you pile up in this little case of a composter, I would just mix it as you kind of get more and more organics, or you can kind of do it as you add organics. Each time you add a good chunk of organics, you can mix it up. I guess I'm considering only what I do for composting. So at my house, we have a container where we collect our compost through the week, and then at the end of the week, let's say, when when the container's full, we take it to the composter outside. And I keep that container in the freezer, so that keeps the smell down, and in the summertime it really helps with fruit flies. So keeping it in the freezer can help with that, but you can also just put it under your sink. So once you have that container full, Scott, who asked that question, you can put it into your composter, and I would just mix it then. And that would be all it would take. Okay, so thanks again so much, everyone. I hope you enjoy your Earth Day and try to get outside sometime today. Awesome, thank you. Should you, or how often should you add more leaves paper? That base layer, you can just add it that one time and it should be enough to keep your process going. If you notice maybe a decrease in it breaking down, you could add some more, but it just really needs that good first base layer right at the start of the process. But otherwise you shouldn't need to add it again. It should just keep making it on its own. Awesome questions, guys. I really hope you guys make some of these. James Renwick, I would love to see how it goes with your students next year. Thank you. And it would be a great way to use the shredded paper at your school. Hope to see you at the park too, Dylan. Hi, Gail. Yes, Chelsea, hikes are the best way to pick up trash. I bet you and Becca do it all the time. Okay, everyone, take care. Enjoy your Earth Day. Get outside. Even if it's just in your backyard, it's a beautiful Earth Day today. Take care. Bye.